remember being a little girl, probably 10 or 11, and I went to my friend's house to play one summer day. And when I arrived, my friend came around the corner of her house with a canning jar full of beautiful roses, all different colors. And what we were going to do that day was paint the roses. I wasn't so interested in painting as I was the beautiful flowers that she had picked from her garden. From that day, it had been my dream to plant beautiful roses in my yard so that I could pick them, smell them, and enjoy them every year. I was intimidated by roses. I didn't think I could grow them. Now that I'm a grown-up and I have my own yard, I've learned that having your own rose garden isn't as hard as you might think. You must remember 4 basic elements for growing your own rose garden. First is nutrients, sunlight, avoiding disease, and pruning. So nutrients, that's easy. These plants love water and they love food. They're a very hungry plant. So you just have to make sure that you use a good nutrition food. For them, you can get that at any nursery. And every 6 to 8 weeks, you put about 1/4 of a cup, 6 to 8 inches around the base of your rose plant. Do that about every month to month and a half, and then make sure you water, water, water. Initial planting requires about 1 gallon of water a day for the first couple of weeks. Once the root system has made its way into the ground, you only need to water about 2 to 3 times a week, depending on how hot it is. The second thing you need to remember is sunlight. Roses love sunlight, so they need to be planted in a place where they will get about 6 to 8 hours of direct sun. They don't like to be in shady spots. They need that nice warm sun to penetrate their leaves and their blossoms. The third thing you need to remember, and this is probably the hardest one when it comes to rose gardening, is disease prevention. There are a couple of things that will affect your roses. The first one is infestation. Mites and aphids love to eat roses. So make sure that you keep your roses clean. Underneath the roses, you need to clean out any debris, keep weeds out of the area where you have planted your roses. You also can use an insecticide or a natural herbal oil, botanical oil that can help prevent any insect infestations. The other thing that affects roses when it comes to disease is root rot and mold. One of the reasons you want to plant your roses in a sunny place is so that you can avoid mold. If it's too shady, mold can grow. The other thing you can do to avoid mold and root rot is make sure you don't overwater your plants. And when you water, water close to the base of the roses. The big bush, you don't want to water up on top of the bush. If you do, you need to make sure you do that early in the morning so it has the rest of the day to dry out and to avoid getting too soft and wet, and that could cause mold. The last thing that you need to remember is pruning. Now this can be a little bit scary also. You've worked so hard to have this beautiful rose bush and then you gotta come out with the clippers. And so it can be very scary to prune, but it's necessary. They need to be cut back. So early in the spring, that's the first time you want to prune, before the last frost of the year. You need to look at your rose bush and you need to cut back any dead canes, meaning any of the long poles that look dead. Cut them all the way down to the base, and then the rest of the canes, you need to cut them in half. So if it's a 6-foot cane, cut it down to 3 feet. If it's 4 foot, cut it down to 2 feet. Cut all of the rest in half, and then make sure you water and feed them, and they will continue to grow. Then throughout the year, you need to make sure that you prune you need to make sure you deadhead the rose bushes. So when a rose blooms, they look so beautiful, but eventually they start to get wilty. Do you see that? So I had to go out and deadhead this beautiful little one. And when you deadhead, you allow the plant to put that energy into one of the other shoots. So deadhead often all throughout the summer and then prune early in the spring. If you do these 4 things to your rose garden, you will be able to clip those roses and have a beautiful bouquet of roses on your kitchen table all summer long. And just like it was my dream,